Chapter 762, Buddhist Butcher Sword. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. On the mountaintop, Gaitan Jiao opened her eyes wide as she stared at Monk Lidai. This monk is so powerful. I don't think he'd be at a disadvantage even if he fought with a second-level half-saint. How can a physical body of the fish dragon realm be cultivated to this level? Even if she had the innate extreme yang body, she was still far from his level. It was hard to imagine what kind of body could be even stronger than the innate extreme yang body. On Scroll Mountain, all the young talents gasped. They were extremely impressed. Tonight, they fully understood the saying, "There are people more talented than oneself in the wider world." Even the top talent of a sect or clan had to lower his proud head at the air banquet. Monk Lidai glanced at Jialuogu, slightly shocked. "You took my palm head on, but you didn't get hurt. You are quite skilled." These words didn't sound good to Jialuogu's ears. It felt as if Monk Lidai was mocking him. Everyone knew that he was wearing the 1,000 treasure cassock. If he was still defeated, it would be very embarrassing. "Don't get too cocky. Take this." Jialuogu took a deep breath. He released all his holy chi and poured it into the 1,000 treasure cassock. The designs on the 1,000 treasure cassock instantly started glowing. Close to 10,000 Buddhist weapons started shaking, singing like wind chimes. A shocking scene was formed. The blood-red cassock expanded continuously. It became huge and kept rising up. At the same time, Jialuogu's body popped and cracked. It enlarged with the cassock. In the end, he'd grown more than 100 times his original size. He was now close to 200 meters tall. Standing below the mountain and looking up, one could only see a giant in a blood-red cassock standing at the peak. He was like a true Buddha that came to the mortal world. "Die." Jialuogu raised his hand and brought it down. The golden hand was like a huge mountain with 5 peaks. It fell upon Monk Lidai's head. His expression hardened as well. He immediately raised his arms and attacked, pushing Jialuogu's huge hand upward. As expected of the 1,000 treasure cassock, even a tiny bit of its power is still so strong. No wonder the ancestor of the Death Zen sect could survive Empress Kaiyao's hit by wearing the cassock. Monk Lidai's cultivation is strong, but he might not be able to resist the 1,000 treasure cassock. "I'm afraid he will lose." Monk Lidai can't lose. Otherwise, who can fight against Jialuogu? Jialuogu took a deep breath of spiritual chi. He raised a huge arm and thrusted it forward. The golden palm landed squarely on Monk Lidai, sending him flying miles back. "Lidai, your abilities aren't much either." Jialuogu laughed. Monk Lidai landed steadily on the ground. He looked up at Jialuogu and said, "I didn't expect you could use the 1,000 treasure cassock's power to this extent. It's quite beyond my imagination. It seems that I'll have to use my full abilities to defeat you." Under everyone's scrutiny, Monk Lidai removed the large broadsword from his back and grasped the hilt. Is this monk finally going to use his broadsword? Many people had noticed Monk Lidai's broadsword earlier. It was at least 2 meters long and was very wide. There were various menacing demonic runes carved on the blade. Instead of a Buddhist weapon, it looked more like a demonic one. Monk Lidai glanced in Chen Tanping's direction and smiled. "You asked me earlier why I walk so slowly, correct?" Chen Tanping was confused. "It isn't that I purposefully walk slowly. It's because I recently opened the Buddhist Butcher Sword's 6th seal, making it 10 times heavier. Carrying it is like carrying 10 mountains. That is why I walk so slowly." Hearing this, it finally dawned on all the monks present. It was because his broadsword was too heavy. "Wait, Buddhist Butcher Sword." A young monk in a king's seat was extremely shocked. He shot up and asked, "Monk, what did you just say?" "Buddhist Butcher Sword." The other monks finally processed this. Countless pairs of eyes turned towards Monk Lidai. The legendary Buddhist Butcher Sword. Tonight's air banquet is honestly eye-opening. The 100 Saint blood armor, the 1,000 treasure cassock, the void sword, the Buddhist Butcher Sword, all these saint weapons that belong in the legends are appearing one after another. There were countless myths about the Buddhist Butcher Sword in the Buddha way. It was comparable to the 1,000 treasure cassock. It was said that the owner had been a horrible demon. In the Middle Ages, he was an earth-shaking figure. So many holy monks had died under his sword. But somehow, Saint Monk Zumi had persuaded him to put down his butcher sword and give up on the evil way. In the end, he'd become a disciple of the Buddha way and spend his life doing kind deeds to atone for his sins. After countless years, only the big Buddhist butcher sword was passed down. However, the demonic chi on it was too heavy. Even a saint monk in the Buddha way didn't dare use it. No one expected that monk Lidai would be carrying it on his back. This monk actually dares to carry the Buddhist butcher sword. Isn't he afraid that the demonic chi will affect him? Bukion Fan asked. Saint Lady was happier now. She smiled faintly. This monk is the top disciple of the Nirvana way. He has fused with the Buddha's golden body and should be able to resist the demonic chi. Furthermore, the Buddhist butcher sword has seals left by various saint monks. Otherwise, the demonic chi it radiates wouldn't be as simple as what we now see. The Nirvana way must have given the sword to monk Lidai to challenge him with the demonic chi. This can make him fuse faster with the Buddha's body and reach the state of complete control. The Saint Lady had only been a bit relieved after Lin Yue had defeated the third royal prince. She didn't become completely relieved until monk Lidai appeared. Now, she felt light, because she was sure that Jialuoga would definitely lose. Tonight's banquet shouldn't be destroyed by the vampires and Death Zen sect. She would be able to report to the Empress. However, she had another worry. Her pretty eyes involuntarily moved in Zhang Yuochen's direction. A jealous voice sounded from an air seat. So he's become this strong because he fused with the Buddha's golden body? If I do the same, who below the half-saint level could fight with me? The speaker was the royal prince of the First Central Empire, Kai Wan Sui. Gai Tanjiao snickered. You think anyone can cultivate the Buddha's golden body? If you want to do it, you must fulfill many strict requirements. Otherwise, the Nirvana way wouldn't have searched for 800 years before finding monk Lidai to do it successfully. The other monks in the air seats agreed with Gai Tanjiao and nodded at the same time. Since monk Lidai could fuse with the Buddha's golden body, he must have extraordinary points. No matter how talented the others were, they probably couldn't do it either. Anyway, everyone had different experiences. There was no need to envy others. They should just be themselves. When Jialuoga heard Buddhist butcher sword, he was also shocked. He regathered his power and smashed a palm down towards monk Lidai with all his power. Monk Lidai saw the palm descending from the sky, but he was still very calm. He just raised his Buddhist butcher sword and said, "There are no Buddhist or demonic weapons in the world. It only depends on the user. If a Buddhist weapon falls in the hands of a demon, it will also become a demonic weapon." Then he filled the Buddhist butcher sword with holy chi. Shreds of demonic chi surged wildly from the sword, transforming into a huge vortex of demonic chi. Whoosh! Monk Lidai stood in the heart of the vortex. He brought his sword down with destructive force, hacking Jialuoga's palm into two. Fresh red blood poured out of the palm. Jialuoga cried out when his palm was split open. Like a leaking balloon, his body shrunk and quickly turned back to its original size. Whoosh! Monk Lidai brought his sword down again, going for Jialuoga's neck now. With a crack, Jialuoga's neck snapped. His head flew off and rolled down the steps like a bloody leather ball. Amitabha! Monk Lidai tied the Buddhist butcher sword back onto his back. Then he put his hands together and prayed towards Jialuoga's corpse. Gasps sounded across Scroll Mountain. Many felt numb at this scene before their eyes. He was a monk, but he'd killed without even blinking. Chen Tanping was especially relieved. It was fortunate that he'd apologized voluntarily and didn't anger this monk. Otherwise, he would have died like Jialuoga. Seeing how shocked everyone was, monk Lidai was worried he'd give the Nirvana fire a bad image. He quickly explained, "To be honest, it's my first time killing someone." Everyone shook their heads, not believing him at all. They'd be stupid to believe him. Monk Lidai sighed. "I must kill if I take out the Buddhist butcher sword. I had no other choice. Since I violated a religious precept, I will punish myself and not drink wine for at least 3 days." But didn't drinking also violate the religious precept? The people trusted monk Lidai even less now. They just felt that this monk wasn't anything good. They definitely couldn't anger him in the future. The 1,000 treasure cassock fell off of Jialuoga's body. It rushed into the clouds in the sky. The older figures knew clearly that the Death Zen sect's ancestor must have taken the cassock back. Thus, No one tried to fight for it. The Death Zen sect's ancestor was the most powerful of the Buddha way, second only to the Buddha. When he was young, he was a prodigy that had shaken the world. If he hadn't fallen into the evil way, he would have become a second Buddha. Who dared to fight with someone like that? The white-haired elder of the vampires also slipped away with the third royal prince. One must admit that Zhang Ruochen and monk Li Dai had finally foiled the vampires and Death Zen sect's conspiracy, making them lose greatly instead. It was honestly satisfying.